Hello! I love the final arc of Bleach. I actually think it's a really great read. I think it's really exciting pretty much from start to finish, but there's definitely some things that Kubo doesn't get quite right with the arc, and I think one of the things is the sheer amount of characters in it. I think everyone can kind of agree that the cast just explodes at this point in the story, and I think Kubo tried his best to cram everyone's favourites in and give them all a moment to shine, but it's pretty obvious that that doesn't work out for everyone in the cast. There's definitely some characters that are treated better than others. And this video is going to be looking at the top 10 losers of the Thousand Year Blood War arc. When I say losers, that doesn't mean I don't like these characters. In fact, I actually really like a lot of them. But it's just that I think Kubo dropped the ball hard with them and their stories. There are definitely some characters in the Thousand Year Blood War arc who just get completely put upon the wayside. They don't have any justice done to them, and considering it's the final arc of the series, it hits even harder with some of these characters, that their stories just feel either incomplete or that they just weren't given the send-off they deserved, especially when some of these characters have been around for so long. So yeah, so this video is not trying to dunk on anyone's favourite character. If they sharpen this list, that just means that I felt that Kubo didn't do them justice. So give the video a like, guys, if you like what you see. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well, because the channel is going to start blowing up, hopefully. We're going to be putting more content on than ever before in the run-up to the anime coming back. Then it'll just be review central, constant discussions, everything like that. So yeah, back in a big way, guys. And let me know in the comments below who you felt that Kubo didn't quite get right in the Thousand Year Blood War. But let's begin with character number 10. Character number 10 is Espada number 3, Hera Bell. And I honestly didn't think we would see this character again. She manages to survive the Arrancar arc. Orihime heals her and the Tres Bestias. I think that's shown in one of those little omakes down in the bottom corner. But she comes back as the de facto leader of Huecamundo, which I actually thought was really cool. That kind of change in governance is a really nice bit of world building that helps the world feel real. You know, it helps it feel consistent. It helps the flow of time in the story. So getting to see her again when the Vandenreich invade was actually really exciting. Unfortunately, we never see her again. Literally, Yuha just waltzes into the palace, or you can assume he does because you don't see it. He beats up Hera Bell, and then she's chained up, and we never see her again. I think it's a real shame. I think I kind of expected her to be at least some kind of a player in the first stages of the fight, but no, she's never seen again. And yeah, I don't even know why Kubo brought her back. I guess she's a symbol of the enslavement of Huecamundo, sure, but then Huecamundo basically doesn't play a role in the final arc after that. So yeah, Hera Bell, big missed opportunity. Character number 9 is the captain of Squad 2, Sou Fon. I know a lot of people are big fans of Sou Fon, but I do not think that she was done justice in the final arc. I think Kubo completely dropped the ball with this character. Obviously, she was one of the 4 captains who got their Bankai stolen at the beginning of the story, but I think that she was hit the worst by this storyline in that essentially nothing really came out of it for her. The others all got some kind of development, even though I think that mini arc was kind of mishandled in general. Sou Fon returns to the fight in the second invasion and battles BG9. We get a nice bit of choreography and a nice bit of development for her and Omaida's relationship. After that, she's knocked out cold. She's then healed, heads to the royal palace, and never seen again. She just disappears and then reappears in the final chapter, in the final penultimate chapter. So, I mean, what do we take away from that? Was she sniped by Lil? If that's the case, then that's a huge disservice to apparently one of the fastest captains alive. If she wasn't, where the hell was she? You know, so I think it's a clear case of Kubo completely forgetting about a character until the final couple of chapters when he's like, oh Christ, I forgot about Sou Fon. Let's draw her in. So yeah, big disappointment there with Sou Fon. I think that the ball is completely dropped. If you ask me, I think she should have been fighting Askin alongside Yoruichi instead of Yushiro. But yeah, that's just a shame, unfortunately. Character number 8 is someone I really enjoy, and that is actually Ichigo's old man, Ition. I think a lot of us were hoping and expecting Ition to play a bigger role in the final arc than he does. Now, yes, Kubo does take the time to give us Ishin's backstory, which I think is greatly appreciated by everyone. but that's it. He's basically never seen again in the present timeline. You know, he has a couple of words with Ichigo at the start. He turns up in Varvel right. I'm talking right at the very end. And then he does absolutely nothing. Like, at least Ryuken gives Uryu the still arrow. Ishin is just there. Like, he does absolutely nothing. Is he there for moral support? He does absolutely nothing. He doesn't even speak to Ichigo. And then he's never seen again. He's not in the final chapters. He's just gone, and it's such a huge shame. And I think Ishin is definitely one of the prime examples of a character that Kubo was planning on showing us their Bankai. I don't think he would have had eyes and mention it the way he did in the flashback if he wasn't planning on bringing it up later. So it's just a big missed opportunity. Ishin in general feels like a character that Kubo was planning on doing something with, and then it was just too late by the time he showed up. Character number 7 is the Lieutenant of Squad 9, Shuhei Hisagi. Again, I know he's a very popular character, and that's why the way he's handled in the final arc sticks out like a sore thumb. Kubo definitely wanted to give him his time to shine in the Fate Karakura Town arc, and it seems like after that he decided to change the way he handled this character. Hisagi is quite literally a punching bag for the entire arc. He takes no wins, and his whole arc is just full of massive losses. It starts with him getting obliterated by Driscoll. Then after that, he gets wiped out by Master Masculine, like just unceremoniously annihilated by Mask. After that, he's healed and he goes off to the Royal Palace, and then he's sniped by Lil. Like, literally, Hisagi basically does nothing in this arc. And in fact, I've literally just remembered something else. He gets mind controlled by Pepe and then annihilated by Byakuya. Literally the entire arc. If you were a Hisagi fan, I would imagine it's quite painful to read. It's a big fall from grace for, quite frankly, who was one of the standout characters of the Arrancar arc. Like, the Fate Karakura Town arc, Hisagi was a breakthrough character, and then he just gets dunked on for the entire of this arc, pretty much. That's a real big shame. Speaking of getting dunked on and taking nothing but constant losses, character number 6 is Shinji Hirako. I know, again, he's a popular character, which makes these decisions all the more baffling. Shinji shows up a lot in this arc. Of all the Visard captains, of all the Visards, he's by far the one who's in it the most, and that makes sense. He's the leader of the Visards, he's the one who has a most personal connection to Ichigo. He should be a major player, and he kind of is. That's why the character is so weirdly handled in this arc. He has, at least to my account, 3 chances to kind of show his stuff in this arc, I guess it were, and he takes big losses in all of them, in one form or another. So he kind of shows up to fight Bambietta with Kawamura. He uses Sakanade, the only time he uses it in the entire arc on panel, and I'll get to that in a minute. He uses it against Bambietta. She just instantly shuts it down. She goes Volstendig, and then she blows him up. She just blows him up. He literally just detonates, basically. And he's out of the game for ages. The next time we see him is when he rescues Amida with Momo, and then Basby shows up. And now I thought there was going to be a cool fight between Shinji and Basby. Basby uses Burner Finger 3, and then we don't see Shinji for ages. He just doesn't show up for ages. And then apparently he's just there at the Shinigami stronghold, and Amida has to tell us that Shinji did something cool with his Zanpakuto to get them out of the situation. I don't understand why Kubo doesn't show any of Shinji's feats. It's really weird. And then, probably the most egregious one is when they get to Varvelt, and Shinji is leading the charge, and then he gets one-shotted by Gerard. Even Momo survives that attack. She's later seen carrying Shinji on her shoulders. Shinji is basically slapped out of existence by Gerard at the very start of the final battle. I know we get to see his Bankai and Can't Feed Your Own World, but that final fight against Gerard, that huge melee, was a great opportunity to see it. And I don't understand Kubo's thought process in just being like, I'm just going to get rid of him. I don't get it. And Shinji, I think, was treated really badly in this arc. Speaking of the Visards, this is a little bit awkward. I've kind of taken a bit of a liberty here and included every single Visard into one step. Character number 5 is the Visards in general. I think it's pretty safe to say that every single one of these characters disappoints in this arc in some way or another. To be honest, The Visors have always kind of been disappointing. I think they're some of the most interesting characters in Bleach, and they just get shafted hard. I mean, the fights are a little more even in Fate Karakura Town, and Hachi is like a badass, and obviously Mashiro gets some stuff to do in that arc. But oh my god, you can count the Vizard feats on one hand in this arc, and that's between like what is it, 7 characters, 8 characters? It's madness. Mashiro, she shows up to train Hisagi. She never shows up again. She's apparently the super lieutenant of Squad 9. She never shows up again. She's gone. Kensei and Rose, they're both now captains. They get just obliterated by Master Masculine, and then they spend the entire rest of the arc being mind-controlled zombies. And it's like, oh my god, I really like Rose. He's one of my favourite captains. He just gets completely trashed in this arc. It's really sad to see. Then you've got the rest of the Visors who can, quite frankly, be packaged in their own collective disappointment. Hiyori, Lisa, Love, Hachi, all of them just get one shot by Gerard. Again, it's a hugely baffling decision on Kubo's part. All 4 of these characters just jump Gerard and get instantly wiped out. And it's like, what is going on? Like, I get it. I kind of get it. Kubo wanted the big final battle against Gerard to be a big hurrah for the most popular captains. That's clearly what it was. And unfortunately, because of that, to establish Gerard as a credible threat, the Visors are once again jobbing. They are once again punching bags. And it's a big shame. Would have been a great chance to see Love's Bankai, but we don't get it. All of the Visors disappoint in this arc basically the entire way through. At least Rose's Bankai is awesome. And it's cool that we get to see that. You know, that's something. Now, character number 4 is a bit of a weird one, and I could honestly, in my personal opinion, even include them on a winners list, and I know that sounds weird, and you're probably going to disagree with me when I say it, but this character is Seijin Kawamura. And I really like Kawamura. I think I am probably not in the majority there, but he's one of my favourite captains, and I think Kubo does him some justice in this arc. He gets easily one of the most fascinating arcs in the story. You know, his whole quest for revenge for Yamamoto leads him to literally pulling out his heart and getting one of the coolest transformations in the series. And it's just like, there's so much emotion with Kawamura, and I think Kubo likes Kawamura because every time Kawamura is in the series, he gets like an epic entrance where he kind of jumps in and he looks like a badass, and the human transformation is just so well done, in my opinion. That it's just a huge shame that the character is literally written out of the series after the fight with Bambietta, and that fight with Bambietta is so early on in the arc. It's so early on. Kawamura is just never seen again for about almost the entire second half of the arc. Kawamura is just not in it, and it's just a huge disappointment. It's a big shame because I think that I like that arc for Kawamura, and I think it's fitting that he suffers a defeat like that because of his revenge that he told Tosen to not give in to. But I just think, like, man, I just wish I'd seen him again. Like, Iba is apparently a captain at the end of the series. We never see Kawamura again. The last time you see Kawamura is when you get a small shot of him and Iba facing off against the Soldat, saying they've denied medical requests. So, yeah, that's a huge disappointment. I love everything that Kubo does with Kawamura up until the moment he just decides to not have him in the story anymore. So yeah, that's a big shame. Loser number 3 is captain of the 13th Division, Jushiro Ukitake. Oh man, this character gets dealt a bad hand in this arc. He basically does absolutely nothing. He pretty much does absolutely nothing for the first half, maybe even more than that, 2/3 of the arc. He's at the beginning of the second invasion, he's shown to be outside the Seirete in some kind of shrine. It later turns out that he has initiated a ritual called the Kamekake, where essentially he becomes a vessel for the Soul King to like cling on to help stabilize the worlds. I know what you're thinking, that sounds really badass. And actually, yeah, it is. Ukitake gives up his bodily organs to become the right arm of the Soul King. Like, that's really cool. And then it does absolutely nothing. And Ukitake dies! Like, the Yuha rips the Soul King out of Ukitake mere chapters after he activates it. Like, there's a bit of build-up for this Kamekake, and it's gone like that. It's gone like that. and then Ukitake dies. He freaking dies on the floor, and it's like, yikes. If you were a fan of Ukitake, that's a bad way to go. That's a bad way for your character to go. Not only does he die completely in vain, because Yuha takes the Soul King anyway and becomes the Soul King, so Ukitake didn't even need to do that, and it's just a huge shame. No Bankai, no fight, nothing for Ukitake at all. Definitely one of the big losers of the arc, and just treated so poorly by Kubo. Character number 2 on my list, again, I think this might be controversial, but I'm not entirely sure, is Captain of the 4th Division, Retsu, or should we say Yachiru Unohana. Now, Unohana is again another character that has never really done a huge amount, but the difference between her and Ukitake is that she was always hinted at at having a bit more to her character. You know, people have always been afraid of her, and Kubo did promise that at one point we'd see her with her hair down and she would fight. And technically that all comes true. It's just kind of disappointing. But again, this is another one where I am quite conflicted, because I think everything to do with Yachiru Unohana and the first Kenpachi is handled really well. I think that whole sequence is awesome. I think she becomes an infinitely more interesting character. I think she looks awesome. I think that fight with her and Kenpachi is really good. And then, like Kawamura, she's just written out of the story. Unceremoniously, never comes back. And it's like, was it worth losing a character in the prime of her being interesting just for that? Kenpachi, yeah, sure, he gets a Shikai out of it, and then eventually a Bankai, but he never kills another Quincy. Gremmy kills himself, you know, and then Kenpachi doesn't win a fight after that. And it's kind of like, did Kubo plan this far ahead? You know, did he originally have this idea that Kenpachi would take on the persona of Unohana and just absolutely murder a Quincy at one point? Because he just doesn't do that. And I think I speak for everyone when I say that people probably would have loved to have seen Unohana let loose on a couple of Sternritters. I think that would have been awesome. But we don't get that. Instead, she just dies. And that's pretty much it for her character. Like I said, I'm conflicted because her arc is kind of completed, but it's just a slight disappointing one. And character number 1, I think this is probably going to be the most controversial of all. But, I mean, hear me out, because I do have my reasonings. I think it's pretty fair. Character number 1 is Ichigo. I think Ichigo is probably one of the bigger losers of this arc, and I think it's unfair for him. But he is the main character of the story, and he doesn't get the spotlight he probably deserves. The arc starts out fine in this regard. Ichigo gets probably the first major fight of the arc. He battles Kurge in Huecamundo. Everything's looking swell. After that, he loses his Bankai. You know, he has a grand entrance in Soul Society, and everything is really kind of working out for this character. I think that Ichigo gets adequate panel time. The story, despite being bigger in scope, is still focused on him. And kind of his quest, but I do feel like Ichigo is almost directionless at this point in the story. But anyway, he has to go to the Royal Palace. He has to fix his armpug toe. The problems really start to arise when Ichigo returns to the battle. And I don't know if Kubo just didn't have anything planned for Ichigo, or if he just didn't know what to do with him. I kind of get it. The Vandenreich is very much the Soul Society's enemy, not Ichigo's enemy. But Ichigo is a proxy in this battle anyway, so he's caught up in it, because the real world is probably going to be threatened at some point, and he has friends in Soul Society. But truth be told, the Vandenreich is the historical enemy of the Shinigami, of the Gotei. It's a military enemy, more than anything. So Ichigo is kind of a bystander in this entire arc. For pretty much the entire second half, Ichigo doesn't really do anything. Kubo tries to give him a bit of importance by saying he's got some connection to Yuha, but that's never really played out. Ichigo then kills the Soul King, because that never, again, amounts to anything at all. And Ichigo just doesn't really have any fights in this arc. It's really weird. He has a brief skirmish with the Fenritters, where he basically just trounces them. And he never really gets any better than that. You know, he kind of, again, has another brief skirmish in the throne room with the Soul King and Yuha. And then he has a kind of a decent, I say decent fight against Yuha at the end of the series, but it's not great. And you know what? I think the big problem for Ichigo in this arc is that he doesn't have a rival character. I wonder if maybe it was supposed to be Uryu, but it's just not played out. It's never played out. So I think Ichigo is just kind of left to meander for a lot of the arc, which for the main character is just not good. But Ichigo goes back and forth like a yo-yo between the royal palace, and achieves essentially nothing. Ichigo achieves nothing for ages, pretty much until he kills Yuha. He gets wiped out by Askin, and he doesn't do anything. And it's like, I know a lot of people have complaints about Ichigo in this arc, and I can see where they're coming from. And I think Ichigo is one of the biggest losers in this arc because he's directionless and he has no real fights, not really many feats. I mean, he saves Kenpachi. That's probably his like crowning moment. I would say the best moment for Ichigo in this arc is when he comes in the first invasion and has the chat with Byakuya. But after that, he is a bit of a nomad. He kind of just wanders. So yeah, that's it for my list of the top 10 biggest losers in the final arc. Like I said, there were more characters I could have dealt with. I was talking explicitly about characters who had appeared in the series prior, because I don't think it necessarily really makes sense to include Thousand Year Blood War exclusive characters in this list. I'll probably do a list about my favourite new characters anyway. But yeah, so that's it for this video, guys. Let me know in the comments below who you think the biggest losers are, and do you agree with my list, or do you think there are characters who are treated worse than these characters? Let me know in the comments below, guys. And yeah, like I said, don't forget to subscribe if you like the video. Until next time, guys. Bye.